Be advised, the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
You are what you watch.
Hello, my name is Harriton Watco and welcome to our program. Okay, I guess what do we do in this program? We always talk about the current events and those unfolding around the world. In this episode tonight, what I'd like to do, since I'm always complaining about the media, is to promote the media. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when I go against the media, it is not necessarily the media, the platform that I go against. If anything, I am part of this specific platform. I'm talking radio, print, and TV. If you wish, we can extend it out to billboards and electronic media, the internet, etc., etc. What I am against is the content that we now get on what we call mainstream media. It seems the morals and the values that are being promoted have gone out the window. And what makes it worse is the content drives the very viewers, the very readers, the very listeners to actually become the corrupted, or what we call the disgruntled group, or the viewers, the listeners, who don't know why they're becoming disgruntled. What I'm trying to say is incorrect news, not complete news, and worse, false news brings about the poor content. Now, the morals and the values follow very quickly. Case in point, as it is unfolding, I'm not going to take a side, but this dramatic issue with Wheeling Willie. There you go. While we're complaining about it, you drive down EDSA and you see all the young women barely dressed. They're either in their underwear, and I asked, and even men, posing in jockeys. I mean, okay, di ba? Ang problema, I asked once, bakit ganun lumalabas? Parang malaswa ata. I'm not trying to be conservative, but I do find it a bit, I get uneasy, or I get distracted while driving down because you see these women in really skimpy underwear. And the answer is, summer. Gee, problem is I don't really feel the heat. Or maybe that's where I'm supposed to get the heat when I look at these big billboards. Now, as we do this, we have these lunchtime shows that are coming about. Now, we've got the 6-year-old boy that was crying. I wonder how the old men feel when they watch all these young women gyrating in really stubby shorts, diba? You tell me. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to promote in this program a news magazine, a newspaper that was launched some 6 to 7 months ago, of which I've had the privilege, and, well, I celebrate myself with them. It's called Opinion. Opinion is a magazine wherein many of the GNN hosts actually also provide a number of columns. Case in point, again, we've got Herman Chu Laurel, who writes there. We have Dante Jimenez, who used to do VACC here in this program in GNN. But, of course, it's no longer airing, but he's a contributing columnist weekly. We've got attorney Sarah Sugitan, who does the intellectual property office. We've got, let's see, myself that I write, but interestingly enough, I don't write about marketing and super brands. I write about politics and current events. So basically, it's an editorial. Let me show you what the paper looks like very quickly. Here was a series. This was number 32. This issue number 32. This is what the front page looks like. You can get this at Fully Booked, or go to the web, find out how you can get a subscription. Now, if you want some real straightforward news and or analysis, you go and get yourself a copy of this. This is the latest issue. It's come out. You'll notice we'll talk about this because, let's see, you've got Gokong Wei there on the top looking down together with Smiling Manny. And then you see that really interesting headline, Hit and Run. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a car magazine. It's called editorial. Kaya nga opinion with a Y. With us in this program, we have the business editor. We also have the editor-in-chief in the studio, but she's decided to sit back and allow the business editor to sit with us to talk about the magazine. We have Lisa Gaspar. Hi, Lisa. Thanks for being on the show.
Hi, sir. Thank you for having me here.
Huwag mo na ako i-sir. Puti na
Thanks,
nga
Harry.
buho ko.
Thanks, Harry.
Siner mo ba ako? Tumanda pa ako.
Thanks, Harry.
Lisa, tell us about the role of opinion versus the many broadsheets or print magazines and newspapers that are already being published.
Well, in this age where people have instant access to news, there is a demand for a publication which synthesizes all this news together and put it out for the audience and help them think more accurately of what's going on in our country.
You don't think the current editorial or the columnists in all the other broadsheets fill that gap? Kulang? You think the opinion columnists provide may demand pa?
Yes, I think so, because what Opinion does is put all these columnists together in one publication. Right now, what we have in current newspapers, mga ano lang, pa-isa-isang editorial, and the rest are news that are in
Well,
there.
no, hang on. The bulletin has what? 15 or 18 columnists on a daily basis. Ang dami nilang editorialists, and some of them are already past the age of 200, no, 300 years old. But they're still writing. I'm meaning they're no longer in government, but yes.
Yes. The good thing about Opinion is that you're not bombarded with news, with current news there. What you have is opinions of experts in their fields, and another good thing is that may mga columnists, sometimes they talk about the same issue, but their opinions are different, or they take opposite sides usually. So in that instance, the audience can decide for himself on what should be the best way to...
So we're not ramming it down their throat, so to speak.
Yes.
Na, hey, you want to think this is the way it is. Hindi.
Yes,
So
yes.
binibigyan mo iba-ibang points of views. So are you saying that opinion is totally independent on its points of views?
Yes, we respect all the opinions of the columnists. We publish all their opinions. We don't
You don't edit
censor,
out. You don't
yes,
censor.
yes.
So meaning, what if I wanted to write mischievously against Pinoy? Papayag ba opinion? So, i-down ang Yellow Army. Parang ganun. Pwede ba yun?
If I may cite one point in another popular broadsheet, but I won't name that broadsheet.
It's okay. You can name it. In this show, everything's open. But,
All right.
okay, it's safe. It's safe. Go ahead.
There was this Mosquito Press blog where they published satires, and one of their posts is parang may survey na ginawa ang Harvard University that one of the most gullible races is the Filipino nation.
Gee, I believe in that. It's called media, but continue.
And then someone, a journalist, took that satire as the truth and published it in a broadsheet, and actually quoted that survey in her article. And I think that one is, although it's not intentional perhaps, it's mischievous in the sense that it's berating the Filipino where there is really no basis. So in Opinion, we publish the thoughts of the columnist, but those thoughts should be well grounded in facts. For example, in the first issue of our business section,
Yes.
called The Economic Perspective, we, if I may show our first issue, sir, Harry, we
May laruan siya po dito, ang tawag dito iPad. No? Alam mo naman, hindi lang mga artista. Miski mga columnist na opinion, may laruan na ring iPad. There you go.
yes, this is the
Okay, this is the
business
new one.
section,
Right.
and we wrote on the current issue for local water utility administration, and the news on the purchase of the authority the agency of the Express Savings Bank Incorporated.
Right, right.
So what we saw in the news sa mga broadsheets, mga snippets of the press briefing from the Department of Finance and from
You
what-
put it together.
Yes, we put it together and then we added facts into it. Like for example, we helped the audience think if the transaction was really did it really make sense business-wise or economically? Was the board of trustees headed by
Pichay.
Prospero Pichay acted within the bounds of the law? So we did additional research. We reviewed, we analyzed the financial statements of the banks, and then we look at the relevant laws governing the creation and then the operations of LUA.
So, the role of opinion is to actually bring out the truth within news reportage. For example, yung mga lumalabas na snippets based on just specific news. Further research goes into a study, and then you create an editorial based on research and study about following specific news. Because after all, news unfolds not necessarily one day. It takes a week, sometimes 2 weeks. So you follow a story. So very much like the the Philippine journalistic with Malu Mangahas.
Yes.
Parang ganon, ano?
Yes,
Parang
like-
may study.
Yes, like we do. Sometimes we do investigative.
Investigative,
reporting
that's the
also.
word. Investigative reportage. So
Yes.
so the role of opinion is to give another point of view, not necessarily delivered by the other broadsheets. Do you feel that mainstream media and the big broadsheets are not being fair or not being conclusive enough in their reporting or in their publications?
Sometimes because now access to everything is in your face,
Oo nga eh.
and if you want to learn about something, kunyari, may news dyan, just log into the internet and look at the websites of these newspapers, and then you see it right there and there. So there's really no, those are just mere
Parang ano lang,
enumeration of facts. So
walang analysis.
yes, that's we need more analysis with so much information overload out there. in the
G,
internet.
it's interesting because that's exactly the role of GNN. While news reportage or news reporting may not be GNN's what you saw field of expertise compared to the big TV networks where they have 40, 50 trucks and 100 staff going out collecting news and unfolding and developing news. Here, through talk programs and the experts of the hosts that are supposed to be put together, that's where we put the analysis of the news that unfold to help the viewers understand. So very much like the same way, opinion does that thing, the same
Yes.
thing. Pero, are you considered, on the first few articles, or the first few releases, the first few publications of opinion, the president, no less than the President Pinoy himself, sinabi parang renegade newspaper to. Do you realize that? Is opinion negative or against the administration?
Not necessarily. What we
If
are,
need be, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
When there is a good news, we praise, or there's a good deed, we acknowledge the good deed. But if we think that there is an area of improvement, then we are more than happy to let those people in the
Let them
right
out.
position to know these things.
You have a number of characters that write here that are very vocal and very strong, like Lingoy Alquas, who says basically, he doesn't say it's news, hindi niya naman sinasabi factual eh. Sinasabi niya lang, well, personal point of view, tingin ko, di ba parang ganun eh.
Yes.
How do you handle characters like that who are very vocal and sometimes can instigate thoughts that may not necessarily be real, true, or unfolding?
Okay.
I put you in a spot there, ano?
It's okay. In that case, that's why that's one of the reasons why we don't censor our columnists. If there's another columnist who has a different view with Mr. Alcuas, we put it there. So at the end of the day, the reader has
Bahala
both
siya.
sides. Yes.
That's a nice way. That's a nice policy.
then we would like the audience, before deciding for themselves, to look at what we have in opinion and also look at the news behind those opinions.
So, because I noticed you have a wide variety of columnists. Ladies and gentlemen, we even have, let's see, well, he ran for the Senate and he's rumored to be sitting for the DENR very soon. You had Dr. Nery Acosta as well. So there he is. Everybody knows he's a close friend. He was the seatmate of the president for close to 9 years in Congress. And he's very much with the Liberal Party. I mean, part of the Yellow Army, diba? Yet he was writing in the same magazine almost every weekly, together with Alquaz, who was on the other end. So talagang iba-iba, no? Then of course you've got Herman Chula-Real, one of our hosts in GNN, who can be very critical of specific industries and unrelenting at that. So hindi man nahihirapan ang posisyon ng opinion, talagang both sides. It's a tug of war. Okay lang yon.
That should be the way.
But the free press today is no longer free. It's driven by specific interests. You're telling me walang interest ang opinion. Because we know all the newspapers, depending on their owners or their proprietors or the people behind it, they are driven by specific interests. I mean, you and I know that, but we're not going to say it on TV, diba? Let the viewers figure that out. But we know that they're all driven, or they have what they call considerations. Even TV networks have considerations because it's called interests. Ang opinion, wala.
Ideally, that's what we want. But since we publish the opinions of columnists, if those columnists individually are driven by certain factors,
you let them be,
and no disclosure with us, then
it's fair game.
Yes, it's.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to take a short break. Before we end this segment, I'd like you to remind you that Opinion is available, and as much as you can get it on the net, just look for it. It's very easy if you know how to search. Opinion is spelled with a Y. Now, it's interesting not because I write in it, but because the delivery of the editorials, the columns, and the copy that is put onto print is intelligent. I'll say that again. It's intelligent. The newspaper may not necessarily be for what we call the masa or everybody at heart who don't have the capacity. It's in English to begin with. Pero may mga Tagalog phrasing naman from time to time. But it's not meant to be elitist because it's English, but it's meant to be intelligent because of its readership. Now, we all know that reading and publications and print have been dying for years. But obviously, Opinion was released, created, and now on publication for one singular purpose, which is basically to offer to you real, proper analysis of unfolding and current events. So go out and get one, if I'm not mistaken, at Fully Booked. Stay with us. We'll have more of the business editor, Lisa Gaspar, when we come back. Just stop.
Thank you, Kuya.
Hello, I'm back. My name is Harry Tambotco. During the break, we're still talking about the magazine. Ladies and gentlemen, the show tonight is about Opinion, a newspaper, a news magazine that started the SAW publication some 8.5 months ago. With us, we have the business editor on the studio. Her name is Lisa Gaspar. She too writes a column. What I'd like to do in the second part of this program is actually take you through the leaves of this magazine. Now, as you well know what it'll say here, which is quite interesting, right in the very top. I'll read it here, this black part here. It says, we politicize economic issues and give economic perspectives to political issues. Now, very, very well said. Now, obviously, what it does is it does not just report basic news, bland as it is, or hey, this is what's happening, it's color red, it's color white. No, it likes to go into difference and why it's become color red or color white. Yes, hit and run. It talks about two specific taipans that are now hitting the business economic news that we see unfolding. I mean, after all, many businessmen do question. In America, ang tawag dito, if I'm not mistaken, correct me, Lisa, is antitrust.
You're right.
Diba?
You're right,
Mr.
Harry.
Pangilinan, owning from now telecommunications to broadcast TV to infrastructure, Meralco, electrical, so public utility. We forgot hospitals and a slew of other business enterprises that he's invested together with PLDT as his base and or Smart, and still expanding and going while we celebrate his genius and his expertise, his business, how would you say it, acumen. Okay kaya yun na one group or one taipan by himself control the interests of the country? I mean, after all, maybe the president will have to call him sir one day, di ba? Parang ganun ang takbo. So let's go through the leaves of the newspaper. As you go through, I'll take you through it. It says hit and run. It expounds on the idea. This is what is called developing the news as it's done. Now, the editor-in-chief, Ms. Arguelles, Lucci, who's in the studio, points out to me, it's not just a matter of reporting the news because Opinion does get news. It does not just do straight editorial or opinions and prints them, but it does an analysis of the current events and news unfolding, and there is also a lot of research that goes in it. But yes, she is saying likewise that it's not necessarily true that we're just totally independent or the opinion's totally independent. There are sometimes, from time to time, biases that are driven. In this case, I guess specifically, let me look to the studio here. Is it the owners or is it the columnists or the organization as a whole? Don't answer it. Let Lisa answer that. How do you answer that? Sino kaya? Ano yung bias na yun? Pwede ba yung mga may-ari?
I think the bias would be more on the individual writers and
Okay,
individual
then we'll keep it from there.
Yes.
Not necessarily owner. Here, ladies and gentlemen, as we go through, I'll just take you through the newspaper to make it more interesting for you so you have a better understanding of the newspaper. On page number 3, it takes the stand on, it says we take the stand, basically is the news portion. More news, but here's a nice report, a nice column about Lisa and her advocacies. Opinion, family in profile.
Yes.
Lucci wrote this. You did.
I contributed to that profile.
Well, you're the subject matter. And of course, it has very interesting points of views. Here you'll see the different columnists. You've got, of course, you've got Mentong Laurel there, Herman Chu, who's one of our hosts right here in GNN. I think he comes on every Tuesday night. Also the same hour, Politics Today. I think that's Talk News TV. You've got Hunya, Butch Hunya, who in this case, let me see, it's the other way around, no? Normally, it's Herman Mentong Laurel who's complaining about electricity. Now it's the other way around. Crisis of Marcos, an evaluation. Yes, of course, unfolding news. Are we supposed to make him a hero or not? Even before we bury him, is the real issue, should we bury him in Libingan ng Bayani? Or is he really a hero? Or did he create that heroism, so to speak, because he was a dictator and allowed it? Of course, the noise barrage. You've got the title here. Let me see. Whoop, there you go. Let me see. Yes, you go. Here you go. You see Alcoas here, Lingoy. And my good friend, Eric. You got Eric San Juan, who does a radio show every night, if I'm not mistaken, about 5:30 till about 7 o'clock. And Only in the Philippines is the title of the column this week of The Victim's Corner by Dante Jimenez, VACC. You know, I totally agree with that. Only in the Philippines, you know. In this week's column, I think in this week's publication, my article is about, let me see, how do we call it? My title is The Oxymoron. The Oxymoron, because that was the headline in the other print newspapers when they talked about Lacson coming in. Fugitive from injustice. So I call that an oxymoron, and I can't say I said that or that it originated from me. It was from attorney Alan Pagia, who put those words together and said, "Hey, Harry, this really does not make sense. It's like extrajudicial killing or execution. Tawag doon, murder, no? Here, fugitive from injustice. Ang tawag dyan, fugitive, di ba? Criminal. Simple as that. And I guess he writes further, he expounds on it, only in the Philippines. And the right side here, if I have $1 million, G. Lisa, tell us about what? About your column since you're here. If you had $1 million, what would you do?
Someone actually asked me that question, and it made me curious and ask the younger generations and what they will do if they have $1 million. So
I read your column, but tell our viewers. Yeah, go ahead. Tell me anyway.
And what surprised me and made me feel good is that the younger generations, before they spent any single cent for themselves from the $1 million, they spent for their families first. They want to buy their mother a house. They want, and then they want to donate a major percentage of that $1 million to their churches. Yung iba gustong magpatayo ng bahay ampunan. It really made me good kasi it shows that the younger generations, in spite of the proliferation of toys, they are not selfish. They want to help other people.
When you say younger generation, how old were the people you asked if they had $1 million? From what age going down?
High school and college.
No wonder. Okay, because right after they finish college and they enter the real world, what happens is, with the help of media, I think we really, media in general really destroys the morals and values because while I believe and I celebrate your ideas and promoting the values of the Filipino, that yes, it's true to a certain extent. I agree with you there. Unahin parate pamilya kasi we're very clannish.
Yes.
We love family even if miski saksakin ka pero kung kadugo mo okay lang eh. Only the Philippines yan eh. I know because I was previously married to a different culture and ibang-iba talaga kultura nila. Alam mo, as the saying goes, marry your kind. Believe me, when conflict comes into play, nako, mamamatay ka, ibang-iba attitude eh. Tayo Pilipino, we have peculiarities, it's called family. And yet, we seem to lose the values and the morals being perpetuated because of TV and print today. Di ba nakikita natin? But, so, yours is college and more high school into college.
Yes, that's why the opinion as a paper would help, I think would do a lot in helping mold the minds of the younger generations into what is a good Filipino citizen.
I celebrate that. That's good. As we go on in, now, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just all news. Let me show you. It's quite interesting. Makikita mo. You see, you've got travel, Binagong Bagoong. What an interesting title, diba? This is by Borromeo, Ramon Borromeo. And then we have a travel column, The Star Cruise Adventure by Mary Vic Del Pilar. And if you go down in the bottom, you've got the Vismin or Visayas Mindanao connection. So at least it's not all about Imperial Manila. You've got Abrementea, correct? Nestor Abrementea. This is about the model business hub, the one that's growing on. On the right side, you've got, believe it or not, Ben Cervantes here, talking about entertainment and sport. So it's pretty much all together there. Now let's see. As you keep going, that's the midsection of the paper. And of course, you've got the ever so popular Margie Holmes and her husband to talk about sex. Okay, there we go. Then we got memory loss. So something interesting about it, what can be done. I just read an article, a very deep article, a research that was taken upon this just recently in Newsweek. Now, we are bombarded with so much information that people today no longer know how to make these decisions, and chances are we will make the wrong decisions. And of course, the Fukijima Experience, Up to When, by Bernardo Lopez, and then you've got Camp Rock for amateur bands. So I guess culture and arts. Now, if I'm not mistaken, let's see, what column do I write in here? Let me see. Oh, there you go, general interest. So I guess I I'm part of the public, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. You've got Louis Montemart teaching political science. Well, perfect, nice article, nice title. Saltitude over the government's image. That's public a primer. And of course, I have a column called Talk to Harry, very much the title of this show. And it goes on. You got life and death. But normally, this article by Attorney Sugitan is about intellectual property. But this time, it's about the 3 Chinese who we have celebritized to be specific heroes. Let me see. Didn't they carry drugs?
Yes.
Let me see. Heroin is bad for you, diba? Let me see. It's not only in China that it's illegal. Let me see. 6 kilos. They admitted it. Now, what did we do? We brought them home. We put them on TV. We brought all their whole family. We celebritized them to a point that we put them up on altar. We made them a hero. Pero hindi ba criminal yan? Anyway, that's another point of view. That's called opinion. Where did you stand on that, Lisa?
My stand on that, sir, was if you did something illegal and against the laws of a specific country, you have to stand firm by that decision of the Supreme Court of that country.
It's interesting because all the only in opinion did I read all of the different columnists who are from all sides come up with a singular position. Nakakatuwa, and yet what we watch on TV, di ba, specific TV, talagang we engrandized, we celebritized. Pumunta pa tayo doon sa kadulu-duluhan ng mga baryo kung saan sila galing at tinulungan natin at kaawa-awa naman yung mga pamilya nito and blamed, of course, the economy, the president, because of their suffering. I mean, ridiculous, isn't it?
What's interesting about the opinion is this week,
Yes. You're launching the new page.
And aside from
sige,
that,
sige.
and talking about the death penalty for the 3 Pinoys, OFWs in China, we have a 13-year-old or 12-year-old kid writing about his opinion on the death penalty on this week's issue.
Oh, interesting. Let's put that on TV. Yeah, show it to them. There you go.
This is the headline for this week's issue.
If that's not an opinion, I don't know what is.
Let me go back.
Satirical, but go ahead.
Let me go back to what you said about President Noynoy saying that opinion is a renegade newspaper. Mr. President, please don't personalize the opinions that are in our newspaper. Di po ba sabi niyo nung inauguration niyo, kayo ang boss ko? So these are your bosses talking to you directly on what should be done and kung ano pa yung kaya nating improve on what you're doing.
Tingin mo, Lisa, very quickly before you go on to the new page, the new layout. Tingin mo binabasa ni Pinoy yung mga tao niya, mga henchmen niya ang opinion?
I hope. Yes, I think they do.
Because they own the others, they might as well read those they cannot control, ano?
Yes.
Ito, they cannot control. So,
yes.
Binabasa niya.
I hope you read our newspaper, Mr. President.
Sige, what are you going to show us here?
This is, let me look for it in, but when I read that column, a 12-year-old kid talking about death penalty, parang, wow, I mean...
How come we, in opinion, in all the columnists, ba't ganun ang point of view natin and yet general media tells us otherwise? Bakit yung mga ibang dyaryo at mga TV, well, no, radyo, I have to admit, no? Ang radyo, similar sa mga points of views natin, eh. Are we considered renegade? Or are we the ones in the wrong and we should put into the altar the 3 who were put to death? Parang ganun eh. Parang minsan tayo ba nagkakamali or
well, personally, I think that depriving a person of a God-given right to live is not right. I mean, though that person did something wrong or did something illegal according to the laws of a specific country, no
Rule
one,
of law.
yes, no one should have the right to, you know,
mali yung ginawa nila, period.
If they need be punished, I think a life imprisonment would have been enough.
That's your point of view, I
Yes.
see. Well, that's their loss, di ba? We cannot
Yes,
impose.
but we can't do anything about it.
Yeah,
also.
alam mo, 1.3 billion Chinese, you know, can you imagine if they were not under strict measure or control, which they
Yes.
have now, what we had in the past and what they have now, at least they're in order, they can feed their people. Ako, when I look at, for example, Libya, that's continuously
Yes.
unfolding, and we have articles here about that. It's quite revealing, it's interesting. Can you imagine, okay, you got a dictator who's a killer, who's forcing his regime for 40 years. But they have prospered one way or the other, well, because they have oil. But can you imagine giving that power to the rebels that they call the rebel? We call them freedom fighters now. In the first week, they were called rebels, even by CNN and Al Jazeera. Now they're called freedom fighters. But can you imagine handing the reins of power to these people with guns, you know, and firing it in there? Oh, I'm looking. My gosh, this is called from the frying pan into the fire. Di ba parang ganun eh?
I think that happened with Afghanistan.
Exactly.
The freedom fighters or the Al Qaeda,
And they became the problem today.
yes, they led Al Qaeda for they led Afghanistan for several years, and then,
Until they went wild, and now they're the problem.
Mujahideen, yes, and then after that they went out of Afghanistan and terrorized. the
Well,
world.
these are the points of views that I think our viewers and the readers have to come across. So when they get opinion. How about the web? Are you available on the web? You are.
Yes, please go to our website www.opinion.com.ph. Our columnists and their articles are there.
What happens if somebody subscribes? Ano yan, may subscription, they deliver it.
Yes, if you're within Metro Manila, we deliver the newspaper at the subscriber's doorstep.
Ba, okay yan. You
And-
mean anywhere, basta Metro Manila, without question?
Yes, sir. Yes, Harry.
Pinapatanda mo na naman ako, puti na nga buho ko, tumanda
Yes,
pa
Harry.
ako.
And actually, we have a subscription form
Okay, there you go.
on the paper.
Just fill that up.
Yes, and then mail it to us, and then you'll get the paper every week.
Ladies and gentlemen, this paper is 4 times a month. So it's every Monday or Tuesday that it's released?
It's printed every Monday.
Okay.
And for Quezon City, it's in Metro Manila, it's available at Fully Booked and Power Books. For Quezon City, the paper is available on Tuesdays.
On Tuesdays?
Yes.
So basically, Monday and Tuesday, Metro Manila na.
Yes.
So ladies and gentlemen, if you want to subscribe and you want to know more about it, well, first go to the net and pick the subscription notice there. You can pick it up. Or you can call. No, you have numbers. What are your numbers? You have telephone numbers. Maybe we can tell them to call.
Or you can call us at 843-3989. That's 843-3989.
Lisa, one more point. Most newspapers survive on advertising. Are you not advertising sensitive? Kanyari ako si Jollibee, papasok ako, gusto kong one full page, pwede. Pero kung sabihin ko sa'yo, huwag mong babanatan si, hindi pwedeng, yung MTRCB, tama yan, o huwag mong babanatan si Willie. Yung mga ganun ba, papayag ba kayo, miski may pera na pumapasok?
I don't. Well, eventually, that decision rests on the publisher, but I think I can say that we are not willing to sell.
The paper, the content.
Yes.
But ladies and gentlemen, yes, the newspaper is open for ads for those who want to promote it. Now, look at it this way. While you promote your products on general media, continue to do so. Opinion is not telling you not to. But if you care about nation building and you care about the ilustrado, if not the intellectual, and what we call generating critical thinking, then what you do is you go out of your way and you sponsor opinion. There are many ways of going about it without necessarily coming out with saying, buy this XYZ product. Call and meet with the management of opinion, the editor-in-chief if necessary, the publisher, or the manager, even Lisa Gaspar here. Go and see them, and then they'll talk to you about the many different ways of how you can participate to promote this weekly magazine newspaper for one singular purpose. nation building. Now, we can only do that not physically using building blocks, but those specific building blocks is what we call critical thinking. Lisa, we have to end the show, so what would be your exit message to our viewers?
When with our access to the internet these days, developing accurate and critical thinking is necessary. And for people running our government now, please don't take our opinion and our newspaper opinion with a Y personally. I hope that you take our opinions constructively. We're not trying to put you down, but we're doing our best to help you run the country better.
Thank you very much. We hope you've enjoyed our program. This program is dedicated specifically to opinion, and I'm thinking seriously because of the many columnists that participate in this independent thought. They all have one common objective, generating critical thought. Now, that's exactly what I try to do in this program, and I'm sure all the other hosts here in GNN, because that's the only way media can really participate in what we call nation building, not the bombardment and redundancy of information that we throw right at your face and without rationale, without values and morals. What we do is we try to open up our ideas. Tama nga naman eh. Pinoy said, as Lisa Gaspar put it, we are your boss. Hey, then employee, listen to us. This is what we're telling you. Thank you very much. We hope you've enjoyed our show tonight. My name's Harry Tambuatco. Stay tuned. We have more for you right here on GNN. Thank you. Lisa?
Thanks, Harry. Thank you.
Wait, the camera will be with us a little while.
You are what you watch.